Welcome to the Connection Central Industry Podcast, where real conversations meet real strategies. Each episode we dive into the industries that keep Australia moving, talking with the leaders, innovators, and everyday operators, shaping what's next. So settle in, turn it up, and let's get into it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Michelle O'Hara here from Connection Central. Today we have a very interesting topic. We're lucky to have Managing Director from Outsource Institute, Stephen Love, with us. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, how you going?
Very good. It's great to have you here. Stephen, start today by just sharing with us how you came about getting involved with the Outsource Institute and a little bit about your role and what they offer.
Okay. So my background is in the Defence Force. So I was in the Navy for just over 24 years. My background is a chef by trade. However, when I was at school, I did study engineering, electrical engineering, and but took a different path. Over the years, as you move up through the ranks, training becomes part of the job. And the last position I had was in Canberra, working in the training section for the Defence Force. So I represented Navy as part of the services, and we looked after all the training that was conducted throughout the Navy bases. And we had an Army and Air Force and a civilian counterpart as well. So that's sort of how I naturally got into the training game. Picking up the job at Outsource, I was originally employed as a trainer. So I used to train in the business service package for project management, frontline management, safety, and just general business. And then over time, took up position as a training manager, moved into general manager, and now the managing director. So moving up through, and I've been here just short of 15 years now.
Wow, that's a bit unheard of these days. That's great. Obviously, staff shortages is one of the biggest, and training is one of the biggest areas that's lacking at the moment. So tell us a bit about the products and services that Outsource Institute offer, first of all.
Okay. Yeah, so we're predominantly an engineering training company. So it does the main two products that we offer is fabrication and mechanical. So that's your welders and hydraulic specialists. That's probably the two main qualifications or areas that we look after. They do feed into other areas in the technical side, such as drafting. So we have a lot of interest in the drafting courses we offer, and that comes from the Certificate 3 level. So people wanting to enter the workforce as a trainee, all the way up to those who wish to transition into the tertiary or get a degree. So we have the full offering there. We do service the mining, manufacturing and defence sectors. So we do have a small suite of automotive courses that mainly target the mining sector. So all of those sort of feed into that manufacturing sort of area there. And maintenance is probably a big one as well. So a lot of the courses that we offer to our students is around that, as you mentioned, upskilling. It's a way that they can cross over between the current trade that they have and diversify their skills into other areas. And that can be used for gaining employment in another location, another area, or used in companies such as those that are tendering for larger projects and need a more diverse workforce. And I suppose the last part there is the giving people longevity in a company by offering more training, which is something that people are looking for all the time. But again, waiting for people to find their way in the world and gain more skills as they progress through their career.
So have you found, this is really important, so two things. A, are you getting enough people and interest coming through, because obviously there's massive gaps in the marketplace for resources. And then the second one is how have you had to adapt your training, particularly with AI, etc., to, are you constantly having to change how you train, what you train, etc.?
Yeah, I guess for enough students, they come in waves. So we have generally a 10-month type influx of students, and the general December, January periods generally drop off because companies are looking to wind back operations or get orders out, those sorts of things. Not too much in the mining sector. They generally work the 12 months of the year, but that's how we see it. And Other influences is around government decisions. So we do see businesses hold back a bit when there's a bit of uncertainty with some government announcements. Once they've sort of made clear of what the direction of the government is going, then they start to pick up again. So there is a fair bit of incentive payments that are paid to the employer and to the students when they're doing their training. That figure hasn't really changed in the 20 odd years since it's been introduced. It's just the distribution sort of changes from government to government. In relation to the AI, we don't normally see too much change because of the type of training that we do. It is a practical application, so there isn't an AI that will weld anything together. It will still be a person. There is the introduction in the last few years of cobots and welding robots to assist with the production. So if anything, it has enhanced some of the production companies or manufacturing companies that use that technology, but it definitely hasn't taken away from the employment. If not, it's enabled their business to grow and produce more products more efficiently, and also training the staff there to program and run the programs or run the cobots themselves. So you have to be a welder in the fabrication space to understand what the robot or the cobot is doing, because there's tolerances and temperatures that need to be programmed into it. There's certain jigs that hold the piece together, and you need to know those things to be able to operate that. So if anything, it's providing the employees with more skills that they probably wouldn't have thought of many years ago. When people think about robots welding, the car industry is the most likely one that people draw to, but it's being used more and more in industry. And again, some companies just don't see the need to use it. So it's technology that they've looked at and just don't need it. So, but AI only really helps in the course production, the way we engage with clients. There is some more automation that we use, and even internally, some of the systems that we use now is more automated. So using the software that's available, but there's still people behind everything.
Thank God. What sort of advice would you give to employers? Obviously, with the Olympics coming up and so much coming ahead, how far in advance should businesses be thinking about all of this when it comes to training their people in-house?
Yeah. So I think the stat at the moment is that the people that are coming out of school at the moment will be the tradesmen or tradespeople for the Olympics. However, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to go into the creation. So once the Olympics come, so in that 2032, count back 4 years, we're getting close to that. Needs to be completed, because within the last 12 months, there's not going to be too much construction. Most of everything that is for the Olympics will be there. The government have in every state, and if you look at it as a country as a whole, have got a number of projects underway that are drawing trades away from each other. So companies can't be complacent in not hiring people, because they're likely to lose staff, unfortunately, over the time for different projects, because certain things will become more of a priority. We saw this many years ago in the mining sector, when a lot of diesel mechanics were poached from local businesses to go and work on mine sites, and all of a sudden there was a shortage. So we're currently experiencing a shortage of welders at the moment. I guess everyone will have their own opinions about their own shortages in their own sector, but we definitely see it from where we are. So there's lots of encouragement through our associations back into the schools to try and encourage students to take up the trade, because it is a well sought after and needed trade within the country. Again, it comes in waves. There's there's probably some stats out there, but what we see is in the initial stages of the January, February, March, sort of people are finding their feet. They're going into jobs or things that they're starting uni degrees, whatever it might be, and not getting through that first semester or whatever it might be, and looking at other ways. You've got influences from family, friends, then the draw card of going to the mining industry, that's another way. And then there's every single support that comes from that. So not everyone's digging holes and blasting the side of a mountain off. There's all the machinery needs to be maintained. There's lots of different trades that go out there, and every business is trying to increase their workforce, especially in the big big end of town. So people that are sort of holding back saying, I'm just going to hold on to my staff and keep them here, they need to be retraining them. They need to be training them and giving them more skills so they won't leave. Because when they do, then there's a big gap to fill and you've pretty much got to start again. So there's that constant need to be bringing people on every year.
No, really good advice. So you mentioned upskilling and cross-skilling, similar sort of thing. What areas are you finding particularly that people are sort of doing that in? What
Yeah,
any
so
particular?
we have people that are and I'll pick up welding again. So they're on the trade, it's pretty hard on the body. So they're looking at ways to continue within the trade, but also to support the trade. So people will move from a traditional welder, boiler maker, fabricator into a supervisor. So there's welding supervisors. So that's another course that we offer as a supervision tickets for that. We have people that are moving into drafting. So they're looking more in the design side. There's some more middle management and those sort of management roles, workshop manager, those are moving away from the tools, but still staying in the game. And finally, becoming a trainer. That's probably the best option for them when they want to move right away from the tools, but still be involved in the trade, is to become a trainer. And I liken it to being a grandfather. So it's like being a grandfather where you can go in, teach the kids, teach the students, and then walk away, and you can leave the mess back to the employer who would be the parent. But it's a good way of having a look at the entire industry, contributing to the sector. And again, that's with every trade that we have is ultimately is moving. If you're moving away from the tools, you can become a trainer and teach the trade that you enjoy.
Nice. I thought you were going to say the saying, teach a man to fish, and they'll be not step away and ask the child back.
No,
I get it. I get it.
yeah,
So you mentioned a bit of, I think with business costs obviously rising, all of us are being hammered. The whole thing of apprenticeships and training and everything tends to always go on the back burner, right? As soon as the interest rates go up, that's usually the first thing to go. Marketing and training I found in the past.
yeah.
So, but it's also the most important. So, guess how do businesses balance? What are they? You mentioned some funding options. What sort of things can they consider?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that the offerings that we have is all our training is done in the apprenticeship space is done on site. So our trainers do travel to the locations to provide that training. The upside of that for a business is they don't have to send their staff away for 2 to 3 week training blocks. That does become, there's a production or a workflow slow down when they lose their people that way. When they return, there's they have to retrain them on the way that they do things because then the TAFE might have a different way of doing it. So we provide that training in the workplace and we work with the employers on the processes that they use in line with the units of competency and the trade. So they get that more one-on-one support. So I guess that, there's a lot of costs when it comes to sending people away, and in the remote areas it becomes even more. There's flights, accommodation, meals that they've got to cover as well. There is some subsidies that will cover that, but it won't cover the lot. So that's where the federal government will provide some tax relief, some incentives, but it doesn't pay for everything. It's just a matter of the business choosing the best option for them. And now we support the TAFE model there. It's a great avenue for those that are leaving school and moving into the workforce because they're used to that institutionalised education. But once they get through that first year, that's sort of where we come in and pick them up from there. Now, we'll take someone from the very beginning when we have clients that use us from start to finish, but we're also happy to pick up people along the way and finish them off. And again, with the upskilling that we do, once they've done their base trade, then we do the certificate 4, where it all sort of marries. And that's where that cross-skilling can come into it. So they're looking at diversifying from their trade into some other area, and maintenance is another one where they're looking to learn some more skills so they can use their base trade and then do the maintenance qualification after that. Again, they can move into different areas altogether, just depends. And that's where we work through the offering with the employer to have a look at their workforce to see what they're looking at expanding into. and help them. And we've got a network of other providers as well that we can draw upon if it's outside our scope.
Fantastic. It sounds that you're very relevant. So people are actually ready. Well, I love the fact that you're going to their workspaces. That's because otherwise it's such a disruption. So that's a really good point of difference for the employers. And are you finding where does the international students or international immigration and all that sort of thing sit in your world? Does it?
We've been it's a bit of a hard slog over the last few years. When we first picked up the registration, we spent the first 12 months in the marketing space, so getting the name out there that we're offering these qualifications. And then COVID hit, so we had a small group of people here, and then everyone else got sent home or was locked down. So the program was on hold for a good 12 to 18 months before we could start up again. And then unfortunately, of late, in the political space, the students have become the football that they're kicking around. So everyone's trying to bring down the migration levels, but it's not actually helping the sector or any of the sectors with not bringing students here. So they do contribute to the workforce on a part-time basis. So there's a lot of casual workers or casual employment that's around that was done by students. But we have started up our program again in the fabrication. So it's a small group of students that we're slowly building on. And that just kicked off in April this year. So we're only a few weeks into that program. But again, it's our way of being able to supply ready-made students to the industry through our network with plenty of employment opportunities. Although we don't offer that as part of the deal, the students can be introduced to the employers in our network, and sell themselves for that position. But they need to be ready for that, and they're probably 12 months off even being introduced at this stage. Starting off slow again, and the next intake is scheduled for July. So we're hoping to get more students in, and then slowly building that program out.
Awesome. Awesome. So you mentioned the opportunity. So do you go across Australia? Is it
Yes.
Australia wide? You'll send your trainers, etc., to go and train and everything. How many trainers have you got?
So we have 5 full-time trainers, and we have another 4 to 5 part-time and contract trainers that we draw upon. Some of the classes that we conduct in hydraulics, they're set classes, and that's where we engage the external trainer to come in and conduct those sessions. These are 3-day courses run over in 4 locations. So we have a trainer doing that. We also offer a refrigeration course as well. Again, we use an external trainer in those areas, and the other trainers are there to supplement our trainers when they're really busy. But normally our trainers are sent out to location, and they might spend 2 or 3 weeks in a location rather than flying in overnight. So they do a fair bit of travel, but they also have that other support in their network.
Interesting. I mean, and can individuals come as well as employers? Oh,
yes, they can. Yeah. So we have, it's pretty much a 50-50 split. So half of our students come from the contracted. So each state has its own, what they call user choice program, which is, it's called something different in each of the states, but that's essentially the apprenticeship or traineeship programs that they offer. And then there's the individuals that are looking to do the upskilling. So these are more in the background. They're the ones doing the technical courses, the drafting courses, and the ones that are leading into that university pathway.
So how many students at any one time would you all be sort of putting through all this sort of training?
So at any one time we have between 500 to, well, probably more likely 600 to about 900 students at any one time. Again, they're doing short courses. So the ones that are doing a 3-day course, they've still classed as a student. So they're on the books there. We have those that are doing welding exams. They're still a student. So they're doing a study program and then an exam. So it's a 2-year program that they can complete earlier, but we allow the 2-year program. So that's why there's such big differences. You might get an influx of 20 odd students in 1 month, but they might only be with us for a short amount of time. But the numbers do fluctuate, but it sits around there. So some are distance education, so the contact with our trainers is a lot less as opposed to the apprentices who would be seeing the trainers more often.
Wow, it sounds like an admin nightmare. I'm going to get you to put your MD hat on.
Yeah.
How do you control all of this
Okay, so
in the back end?
we've got a number of systems that we use. Essentially, we have an electronic card system that has each student has a card that is tracked through a board. Each of the boards have a lane, so they'll just move from side to side. So there's if you can imagine start and finish, if it's probably the other way around in the camera thing, but they come on the board and then they move through the lanes. It's an internal system that we use, so the trainers, the operations staff, the training team can communicate with each other about where people are at any particular time. You can go in and type someone's name and it'll tell you exactly where they are, where they're up to in the process. And that's probably that's the best way to manage that bit. And then we have a student management system, and that's a regulated thing that we do where we produce the qualifications or the certifications through that portal, and that's where all the student records and documents are held as well.
And is that a system you all created yourself, or did you all buy that off the shelf?
The student management system is off the shelf, but we've modified it over the years. We've been with this provider since 2009, I think it was when it first came out. So so a long time there. But the other system, that's the one I've created there. It's gone through some name changes in the software, but the layout is the same. And we've used it across many other parts of the business, but that's the main one. So the student progression board is the sort of the cornerstone of that student administration.
Yeah, really important piece. So what do you find your completion rate is with students these days? There's
Well,
not a lot of focus, is there?
we sit up around the 80 and 90% mark. So
Really?
it's pretty high because of as I said, the touch points that we give and the progression that they come through is if they've gone a little bit through the TAFE system, they're coming over to us, then they're going to get that contact in the workplace, so they will complete. The exam side is probably the biggest drop off, and they're not the accredited programs that we offer. They're the shorter courses. So again, the system allows us to track progression up to a point, and then there's only so much we can do to encourage the students to continue. Life gets in the way. That's why we put that 2-year time frame on it to allow them their working life, so it doesn't interfere too much there. But we still sit up on that higher end of completion. And again, it's really around that the study, that it's a big ask for someone that's in that position in their working life to study that amount that they have to sit the exams, that study.
Yeah, no, kudos to you. I expected it to be a lot lower, to be honest, but this is interesting because, the latest podcast I've been doing, we're talking very much about the touch points and the customer experience and the engagement. And it sounds like you'll have a very good system of engaging at every step, because to have such a great retention and completion rate, you must be, keeping them. Because if I hear, on average, talking to kids, the students going through university and such, I mean, most of them are chopping and changing and chopping and changing. So
Yeah.
Is there anything else special, I guess, just to share that you guys do? Or is it just that, I suppose, keeping on top of it and keeping in touch with them, communicating?
Yeah, I mean, there's the milestones when a student enrolls is, so they're submitting every student that we enroll has been spoken to. Now and I'll put a little caveat on this, there's a couple, and I'll put that to the side, but the students that enroll into our programs are spoken to, every single one of them. So the salesperson has spoken to them. They've fully, given them all the information that they need to enroll. Once they're enrolled, we put them through an RPL process that they're spoken to by the training coordinator. So if there's any assistance needed there, they're advised on what they can do and help through that. They'll talk to a trainer through that assessment process. So there will be a competency conversation that they've had. So everyone goes through that. And then they get allocated to a trainer. And as I mentioned before about the touch points, every apprentice is contacted, every workplace is contacted, and then we engage with them on a schedule. The ones that are doing the online, so the technical courses, they have a lot less touch points, but they're still communicated to through our system. So they have our contact details should they need to reach out. Trainers will periodically check in with them over the time. And then the ones that are not contacted by anyone are our very short courses or our micro-credential ones that we do. So that's jump on the website, pick the course you want to do, pay the small fee, and you're enrolled, and you get a 3 or 4 days on the program. So it's just they pay, they study, and they get a certificate at the end. And that's a micro credential that can lead into something else. But they're our little tasters that we have for those that are looking to either engage in that industry or just want a little bit more knowledge about a specific topic, whether it be hydraulics or pneumatics. And then we've got some others coming later this month, which will be in the workplace. So work environment, even in warehousing, forklifts, fire safety, all those little short courses that companies need to do as an annual reminder on safety. So a bit of first aid, but it's not a first aid course. It's just the immediate first aid that you can provide. And those courses are coming later this month.
Sounds like you're very organized over there, Stephen. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
I guess, well done. Look, see, we're almost near the end. I want you to sort of leave the audience with what would you suggest, maybe 3 things that business, when it comes to training and preparing for the future, and getting ready for what's coming in the economy, etc. What are sort of 1 to 3 things that you would suggest and leave with people that they should really be thinking about right now?
Okay. Well, I guess training would be the main part there is to look at the business and identify where those gaps are. And if you don't know where they are, then there's, we're available. There's plenty of other consultants around that can assist in those things. Looking for diversity within the business. So you might be used to delivering a product. And I won't use the word everyone uses, but there are other things that you might be able to get into and lean on the network. So building partnerships. So that's a lot of the business that we have, and I think our studies been consistent over the years of 80% return business. So now that might be clients that have finished training with us or clients that have worked with other clients that have been given word of mouth. So that's sort of the repeat business that we get in the service we provide, the solution that they're looking for. That's probably the main thing is that have a look at the business and know where, if there's gaps in training or there's skills that you're looking for. We're working with a number of businesses at the moment that are just have identified some skills that they require, but not full qualifications. So we can still provide that type of service without issuing full qualifications, but it just might be a small range of things that they're looking for that they, again, once you walk into the door. Another one the other day was that they've got a framework in place. We don't need to be involved. So we've just connected them with a resource writer and we don't have to be involved in that. So, but it's through, those networks that we can provide some solutions. And I said, we don't offer employment, but we have a couple of partners that do that really well. So we would just recommend that they go and talk to them. And then if they move into a job and they want a qualification, then hopefully they remember us and come back that way. So that's probably the 3. Yeah. So look at the training, have a look at there's anywhere else you can diversify the workplace and provide more products and look into those networks. I mean, with Queensland Leaders is a great place to find someone with the skills that you need. And we've definitely used them over the years for some of the things that we've needed.
Magnificent. Excellent takeaways there, Stephen. Thank you so much. And look how quickly that time went. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
And I encourage all our listeners to get in touch with you guys because we're definitely going to need you all for the future. So thank you so much for coming on today.
No problem.
Splendid. Ciao for now.
Okay. See you later.